Well, it's so important to make sure that the dads that we care so much about are prepared for their future with good legal documents and making sure that there is a plan in place so they can get the care that they need when that time comes when they need it. For more on how they can help here, we have Misty Van Trees and Jen Bloom to kind of talk us through. Ladies, these are like difficult things to talk about, but I feel like you all really take the time to kind of guide everybody through it, because at some point you have to have these hard discussions, right?
That's right. So at Kentucky ElderLaw, we are a local law firm. We're based here in Louisville, but we have attorneys that practice in Kentucky and Indiana. And along with that, we also have elder care coordinators, which are social workers that are on our staff that help make sure every element of all the things our moms and dads need, that all of those elements are met. So I do the legal part, so the good legal documents, making sure we're prepared that way. And then our elder care coordinators like Jen, they reach out and make sure that we're accessing all the care that we need along the way.
You mentioned the documents. What legal documents do you need to make sure you have in place when you get older?
So there are 4 basic legal documents that really everybody needs. You know, we don't get them when we're young because we're going to live forever. We're going to be healthy forever.
We don't even think about these things.
That's right. That's right. But as we get older, they become more important. One of them is power of attorney. So that's the document that says who can handle finances if we're not able to do it. A healthcare surrogate, someone to make medical decisions if I'm sick, if I can't do them for myself. A will, where things go when we pass away. And a living will, which is end-of-life decisions. So those are your 4 basics. Sometimes we need trust in things that maybe are a little more complicated or sophisticated, but those are the basics for sure.
Is there a timeline on when these things should be done? Because even listening to some of that basic stuff, we could be in a car accident. We would need maybe some of this stuff anyway.
That's right. That's right. And we always say, you know, you can't buy fire insurance when the house is on fire, right? So you have to do these things ahead of time. So we want to do them when we have mental capacity. You know, a lot of times, like when Jen's working with our clients, you know, unfortunately, maybe they have Alzheimer's or something has occurred. So we want to make sure those documents are in place before we have that crisis, before we have something happen.
Well, what if you are having concerns about your dad's health, since this is the Father's Day show, we're talking about dads. How do you determine like what care he will need?
So Jen, you can kind of shed some light on this, because that's really where she gets involved.
What should we do? Like say, oh, okay, we got our documents in place. Now what's the next step?
Well, that's where the elder care coordinator or the social worker comes into place, and we meet with the client. We start with an assessment and really work through that care process, kind of like a professional liaison.
Oh, which is so nice. I feel like that can be intimidating, and to have somebody, you're like the advocate.
Yes,
you're advocating for me and my family.
Yes, that's a great word for it. Absolutely.
And so do you come in with the ideas, or can the family say, hey, we're thinking about this and this and this, or is it just kind of
a collaborative approach? So, you know, we're working with that person, you know, we're not doing to that person, we're working with them. So it's a collaborative approach, and figuring out what are the right options, what are the choices, and what are their needs and their wants. It's a holistic approach.
And I feel like too, you all always have a lot of workshops and events coming up where I feel like it's a really easy way to kind of be introduced to the whole part, because it can be overwhelming.
That's right.
And I think you all have so many workshops. Do you have things that are coming up that can kind of be that way to get to know you?
We do. So on June 22nd at the Alzheimer's Association here in St. Matthews, we have somebody from the Attorney General's office that is coming as our special guest to talk about senior scams, which is a huge issue for our clients.
Gosh, you're not kidding. I mean, it is terrible right now.
It is. And then at 3 o'clock that same afternoon, we also have a workshop that's just more about those legal documents, doing planning, making sure that we have everything in place to protect our assets. So, you know, the nice thing about having a full team with lawyers and social workers is we're going to address all those issues.
Right. You know, with the senior scams right now, from calls to AI, to text messages. I feel like there is just this onslaught recently of what do I do? I got, you know, my mother's always like, I got this, and I'm like, don't touch it, don't. Do you feel like there's just more than ever out there?
There are, and that's one of the things that it's just so hard to navigate for somebody who is maybe living alone, they don't have a lot of resources, and that's why we can be there. We can be that resource. We can be their team. One of our life care planning, and that's what we call when Jen's involved, clients, you know, decided he wanted to work with us. And as he was leaving the office, he said, I guess we're all a big team now. And that's right, we are. We're all a big team now.
Where can people go for more information?
So our website, kyelderlaw.com. So Kentucky Elder Law is, you know, you can just type it in. That will bring it up as well. Give us a call, 502-581-1111. Our first consultation with any family, always free.
Okay.
So we never charge for that.
All right, ladies, thanks so much for coming by.
Thanks
Such
for having us.
important information, so definitely get in touch with them.